Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Truth Report. And we are truly live. I know we're a couple minutes late, and I have been seeing all the comments from people saying, when are we going? Is this for sure live and brand new and not a rerun? And I'm here to tell you it's live, and we've got the man himself, Bo Polny, with us. Bo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Noah. God bless you, and I appreciate all you do and all the work that you put into your end of the spectrum with is the Daily Truth Report, and your website is next to none. Actually, it's the only one really worth reading because you get some pretty awesome information in there. And so, thank you for all the work that you do with the WLT report on your end. So, thank you. God bless you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. We work hard at it, and really appreciate hearing that. Well, yeah, I just posted here because people are saying, is this truly live? Today's November 8th, 2024, and it's about 1 p.m. Central Time. So we are definitely live here. We'll take your questions as we get going. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter, X, and then we're live on Rumble. So wherever you're watching us, we'll be watching for your comments. But first, Bo's got a lot to tell us, and he called me up yesterday and he said, hey, can we find 30 minutes? I want to come on and make a big announcement about Monday. So we'll do that today too. I'm going to leave that in Bo's hands, and I'll just kind of leave it to Bo to tell me. I've got your slides, Bo. Where do you want to start? I know you have so much brand new to show us. This is last time we talked to you was before the election. Now we're post-election. It's the world looks different. Things are changing on a daily, hourly basis. So we had to have you back on. Where are we starting today?
Let's just start on page 1 of what I sent you. Basically, well, in a nutshell, we're stepping into a new moment in time. If we go back, everybody go back to our prior podcast, and Noah can confirm this. What we said specifically was a new window of time begins on 1/1/1, which was November 1st. And the reason being is when we go back to the calculations using the Revelation 12 sign. So Revelation 12 sign was specifically September 23rd of 2017. So that actually on page 30, if you want to start there, let's just kind of do a sequence of events, and then we're going to get to where we are today, again, the 8th of November. But on page 30 of the slide that I sent you, you'll see on page 30, September 23rd, 2017. So those that are listening, if you want to get a pen and paper and jot some notes down on some key dates, I'll get you to understand how the year 2024 mathematically, and this is not my math, this is God's math, this is called divine math, indicates that as the year 2024 ends, everything we know and knew and understood to be true ends. Everything shifts and changes. So as the year 2025 begins, everything's new. But that results in massive shift, a massive transition, a very powerful moment in time that we're stepping into. And I believe it starts like next week, maybe this weekend, into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and all of next week. All of this is about to transpire, but look at the math here. So let's look at the math together. So I'm going to illustrate this so we can understand together how God's timing is indicating November, December, things end and something new really begins starting January here. So September 23rd, 2017, when you understand that calculation that was in the stars, in the heavenly, Revelation 12 sign occurred in our heavens. If you go to page 32 of the slides, what you'll see is we're going to count using Daniel 12, verse 7. So again, not making it up, I'm simply doing the math. And Revelation or Daniel 12 verse 7 says 1,260 days, another 30, then another 1,260, then a 45 days. So in other words, it's a Daniel cycle of time, complete time is 2,595 days. So why I reference that entire calculation, because from the Revelation 12 sign, September 23rd, 2017, 2,595 days ended on Halloween. Now, there is a chance there is a prophecy of Kim Clement that we might have seen some events manifest on Halloween. We didn't see any specific events manifest on Halloween per the Kim Clement prophecies. So again, that could maybe what he was referencing is maybe going to be next year. But it doesn't matter with regard to the Kim Clement prophecy because the math is the math. And the math states very clearly that October 31, 2024 ended the 7-year window that started on Revelation 12 sign. Period. That's it. The cycle ended on Halloween. But there was a prophecy that Janie gave that said that there would be no visible stars or specifically no visible moon on Halloween. We'll go check. It was called a new moon, and there was no, I didn't realize this, but there was no moon, which is extremely, extremely rare to not have a moon on their witching hour. But there was no moon visible on October 31st, 2024. Now, so that ends the cycle of 7 years. So now we start the next cycle of 7 years. The next cycle started on the next day, 1/1/1, November 1. So the next cycle starts the next day, which would be November 1, 2024. And usually the first week is usually rather interesting with regards to cycles. Well, what happened? We all know, we all watched, because on the 5th was an election, and that night Trump wins. And so that night into the morning of the 6th, remember, 6-day war, on the 6th day, on the 7th day, they rested. Understand, the 6th day, it was over. Trump won. Trump won on the 6th day. You can't make this up. It happened. He won on the 6th day, and this starts getting really interesting because the math again is perfect. So if we go to page 1, what we'll see is on page 1, I've been made reference directly to a new star was born, and this star was referenced at the time of Moses. It's in the book of Numbers, and coincidentally, it's in the book of Numbers, number 24. And verse 17, which if you add a 1 and a 7, you get an 8, which you'll see very importantly, 2, 4, 8 is divine math. And you'll see why in a minute. So on page 2 that you've got right there, well, actually, the top page 1, top left corner, if you look, the Star of Jacob appeared, but when? This is actually, you can verify this, it appeared on Friday, September 27th. The Star of Jacob that was prophesied 3,500 years ago. Mind-blowing. 3,500 years ago, Balaam spoke a prophecy that a star would appear in the heavens. And that star appeared, 5-6 weeks ago. How wild is this?
Wow.
On that day, guess what happened? North Carolina floods. So before a new kingdom is birthed, before a mother gives birth, Noah, what happens to the mother before she gives birth? Water breaks. On this day, the flooding began in North Carolina. Why this is important? Because when you go back, Noah and I have talked about this before as well too. Remember oil? Remember that one? The calculation, 1,260 days from Trump's election was April, I think the 24th actually of year 2020. And you and I, Noah, and the viewers, we said, hey, something's going to happen on this day. We watched oil go to negative $38 a barrel.
Oh yeah.
Remember that one? And then interestingly enough, 30 days later, you had the water breaking in the Edenville Dam.
Yeah, I remember that.
Michigan, right? Like 30 days, and then 40 days later, 10 more days, so 40 days, the George Floyd riots break out. What I'm showing, and I want the world to see, is none of these events are random. They're actually happening with divine perfection. Why I say that is because I've referenced Numbers 24. If you go to slide 3, so we've got September 27th. If you add 40 days to September 27th, the kingdom of David was born. 40 days, Trump wins. September 27th, the Star of Jacob manifested in the heavens, fulfilling a 3,500-year-old prophecy. This is mind-blowing. This is absolutely wild.
Well, it really does feel like, I mean, I've been saying it all week. It's just like a switch was flipped and suddenly we're living in a different world. I mean, all of these lawfare cases, they're just dropping one by one every single day. Somehow we won on election night with no interference and no problems. I mean, it's just like it's the exact opposite of the last 4 years.
Yes, and actually, we were speaking last time, and I honestly felt, again, this is just my opinion, right? We all have opinions. My opinion was, that we weren't going to get a result that day, right? This might drag on a week or two or three like it did in 2020, but yet God had a different plan. The math ended up being perfect because on that day, 40 days, Trump wins from the birth of the Star of Jacob. So the Star of Jacob manifests, the water breaks, North Carolina. 40 days later, to the exact day, November 6th, Trump is declared the winner. You can't make this up.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone else talking about this. This is really interesting.
This and again, if you want to just go ahead and just to verify this, no, I just Google, go pull up on your screen, a Star of Jacob. Friday, September 27th. This, I just took a screenshot and stuck it up there. But the Star of Jacob manifested in our heavens on September 27th, 2024. And then you run a 40-day calendar. It ends up being election day. Actually, election day, the day after election, when the victor was announced. So 40 days to the exact day, Trump wins the election and the kingdom of David is birthed. There it is right there. This fulfills a 3,500-year-old prophecy. People, let this sink in. Let this sink in, the times we're living in. We've always said, we don't live in political times, we live in biblical times. Not only is it biblical, we just witnessed a 3,500-year prophecy fulfilled in our lifetime.
That's very cool. Incredible.
Truly biblical. And incredible. So if we go back to the slides, I want to kind of expand on why this is so, because that's as awesome as that is. This is just a warm up to what was revealed and what's happening. Now, if you scroll over to page 19, on page 19, it talks about Jacob's trouble. So remember the Star of Jacob, right? Star of Jacob, September 27th, 2024. So now Jacob's in trouble. Jacob's trouble. Get what was happening in our world? Talk about trouble in the world. Okay. So Jacob's trouble, but Jacob's trouble talks specifically about the distress of Jacob. So the stress that we're going through and the restoration of Israel and Judah, the United States. Now, if you can read verse 9, just read this and then I'll expand about it. So just read verse 9. Noah, go ahead and read that.
Okay. But they shall serve the Lord their God and David their king, whom I will raise up for them.
Okay. Now, this prophecy was written after King David. He was dead already. So King David is dead. He already lived. This prophecy is written several hundred years after King David. And Jeremiah 30, verse 9 is saying, But they will worship the Lord their God and David their king, who I will raise up. So in this prophecy, it states that God is going to raise up a David. Now, those that recall, if you recall the Kim Clement prophecies we have played, what was the Kim Clement prophecy about fall? In the fall, you will know who my David is. Remember, we've played that. Go back to our prior podcast. In those videos, the prophecy, it says, first off, Kim Clement said Trump is going to have 2 terms. That prophecy was just fulfilled. Everybody thought it was consecutive. No, it wasn't. He was to be set aside for a season. A season, God's time is 4 years. He was set aside for 4 years. Season, our season's 4 seasons, 1 year. For God, 4 years, 1 season. So Trump was set aside for a season, God's season, 4 years. And now he comes back to office on precisely 40 days from the Star of Jacob. This is crazy. So Trump comes to office on the 6th of November. On the 6th day he rested, right? They rested. And the 7th day he rested. So on the 6th day, Trump wins. The prophecy of Jacob's trouble, verse 9, is just fulfilled. And the prophecy that Kim Clement gave in the fall, you will know who my David is.
Yeah, that's crazy. And really, even you watch the clips, it's amazing to watch this week. Even places like CNN and MSNBC, they're saying this is the greatest political comeback in history. There was no chance that Trump was coming back after 2020. And, the only chance he had was that, God got in there and raised him back up, put him back in place.
Yes, by the hand of God. Now, in Jeremiah 30, read number 6, because number 6 tells us, Noah, when the Star of Jacob. So this prophecy so Numbers 24 was written 3,500 years ago. 1,000 years later, Jeremiah gave us his prophecy. So this is a 2,500-year-old prophecy, 500 years before Jesus. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the prophecy, if you read line 6 or line 6, it will specifically tell you or tell the viewers, us, when the Star of Jacob will appear in our heavens. So read number 6.
Okay. Ask now and see, can a man bear a child?
Why do I see every man with his hands on his stomach like a woman in labor? Jump out of this and Google, can a man bear a child? Men giving birth.
Oh, right.
You can't make this up. This is wild. We are watching fulfillment of a 2,500-year-old prophecy. You can just Google it yourself. This is men. They say we know they can't, right? But they say men can give birth. It's fulfilling Jeremiah 30, verse 6. And when men say they can bear children, the Star of Jacob will appear in our heavens.
That's crazy.
This is crazy. Crazy means it's impossible. This is mind-blowing that we're seeing all of this happen. And then Kim Clements talked further about a wealth transfer. And that's number 3. I will restore the fortunes of my people, the fortunes of Zion.
I am restoring the fortunes of Zion. I am restoring the fortunes that were the inheritance of my people. So
that's coming. There's talks. This is the one that I think you will appreciate, because remember you said, what are they all doing? Everybody's, they're talking about bringing the wars to an end now. All these people are announcing all these things. Read number 16, Noah, and you'll understand why all the global elite and these people that have been against Trump and were bringing on their agenda. Guess why? Read 16 and you'll understand it.
All who devour you shall be devoured, and all your foes, every one of them, shall go into captivity. Those who plunder you shall be plundered, and all who prey on you I will make a prey. Yeah, that's what Kim Clement said. He said they fall and fall, right? And we're finally there. It's been such a long time, but we're finally. I mean, it's almost like people are have shell shocked, have a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome. It's like, well, I don't think it's really going to happen, but I mean, it's starting this very week. It's starting to happen. I mean, you're starting to see it.
The day after, I think yesterday I was reading on Twitter or some I think it was Twitter that someone's saying that they're talking about bringing this wars to an end, and all these people are backing down. It's wild. Well, we're just the day after the announcements that are coming out. Mm-hmm, and right. So, but all of this has been prophesied 2,500 years ago.
Yeah, It's fantastic. And then Kim Clement, he back to what, like some of that was like 2007 when he was saying some of that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. They fall in 2005, 2007, even before that, but they fall in full. And there's another part here on number 19. It says, out of them shall come songs of thanksgiving. So in other words, we're going to be celebrating this Thanksgiving like we've never celebrated before. This will be the greatest Thanksgiving in human history. And so all of this is basically screaming that between today, the 8th of November, into Thanksgiving, the 28th, which is 20 days away, we're going to be celebrating like no other 20 days from now. So the question is, what happens between today, the 8th, and Thanksgiving, the 28th? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But something biblical is afoot. Something big is about to happen. And if you read number 23, it says, behold the storm of the Lord. You see, so the God the Father, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, we're about to see the storm of God. In other words, God's about to bring the storm. And so this is scripturally in Joel. It talks about the great and terrible day.
Mm-hmm.
The great and terrible. It's in one line, right? And it says in Joel 2, I think it says, the great and terrible day of the Lord. Actually, that would be on page 17. And if you look at 17, it says it's the judgment and deliverance for America. So America is going to be judged, but not America, but the people of it, who've done all this stuff. And then deliverance would be equivalent to judgment for Pharaoh and the terrible day for Pharaoh, and a great day for Israel and deliverance for Israel. And that's in Joel 2:31. So this is the fall of America. But America has been captured. So yes, one nation founded under God, all men are created equal. But what happened was years ago, they sold us out to England. We turned into a corporation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think you've covered that already in many of your podcasts and many things that you talk about as well, Noah. So I think we don't need to argue about or get into details on that. But that's a reality. That is what happened. And so above there, you see the number 248 years. Mm-hmm. So what it's saying is that the year 2024 ends the world as we know it, and a new is born. Well, and what is that? The kingdom of David, right? So what did we say earlier? The kingdom of David was birthed with a water breaking on September 27th. That wasn't birth yet, but that was a water breaking. And then 40 days later, to the exact day, Trump is announced winner. And that date marks, because Trump is not, he's not God, he's a man. But man, us, just like if you go back in history, you have to understand before Jesus showed up, who was the man that came up before Jesus? John the Baptist. And John the Baptist was sounding an alarm for the coming of the Messiah. So Trump is bringing in, like John the Baptist, Trump is bringing in the kingdom of David. Let that sink in, everybody. Trump is bringing in the kingdom of David. That's why in Jeremiah 30, verse 9, it says, I will raise up a David, who I will raise up. Because that David brings in the kingdom of David. And if this is going to be the birth of a new king or a new era, if you go back to page 2, remember, last time this event went down, similar to was the Star of Bethlehem. Mm-hmm. When the Star of Bethlehem appeared, Jesus, a king was born, a kingdom was born. Get it? So the Star of Bethlehem, when you see a star, it's indicating the birth of a king. So the Star of Bethlehem indicated the birth of a king. Now we got the Star of Jacob. And Matthew even stated the Star of Bethlehem was a foreshadowing of the future coming of the Star of Jacob, of the true kingdom. So Jesus, when his birth was at the Star of Bethlehem, that was the foreshadowing of the coming of the Star of Jacob. The Star of Jacob manifests, water breaks, 40 days later, Trump is victorious and announced president, fulfilling to the exact day the 40-day cycle from the Star of Jacob to the exact day. And now everything is suddenly beginning to change. Suddenly everything is beginning to change. But if we go to page 5, this is the item I want to bring up on page 5. So Trump won, and this is the issue that I think we all need to understand here on the next right there. When Trump wins, when Trump won, everyone's celebrating the Trump victory. And as great as that is, Noah, the issue with that is who got the glory.
Right.
It wasn't God, right? Even though God's in the mix, he's in the details. Right now, the world is looking to Trump. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the issue, which means we haven't transitioned yet because we need God to get the glory.
Yep, that's right.
You see where I'm going with this, right? So no one can steal God's glory. Right now, Trump is victorious and everybody's rah, rah, joy, joy, President Trump. And that's fantastic because he is God's anointed. But the thing is, we need God to get the glory. And right now, that glory sits in the camp of Trump, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So something's coming down the pipeline here, and it's going to be wild. And so I guess if we can jump back.
Yep, that's good.
And we go to page 19, you'll understand because in page 19, verse 5, what it says is, we have heard cries of panic and terror and no peace. Why I say that is because we haven't had that happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about to experience, and I believe it could start next week, if not week after, but it's going to go down, I believe, in November here. And this will be what we just referenced in Joel 2, the great and terrible day of the Lord. And so the cries of panic and terror. When this event happens, that then is the no way out. Kind of like what happens at the Red Sea, right? At the Red Sea, there were cries of panic, terror, and no peace. There were cries of panic, terror, and no peace at the Red Sea because Pharaoh brought everything he had to the Red Sea because he was not going to be mocked by God. He wasn't going to be beaten up by God or Moses. He was going to win. Mm-hmm. That's where pride and arrogance came in. And so what I'm saying is that we haven't had that moment where we have cries of terror, no peace. And when that happens at the Red Sea, let's give the analogy, because at the Red Sea, then God parted the Red Sea. Israel went through it. God closed the Red Sea. And everybody knew God did it. God got the glory. And every day from forward after that Red Sea miracle, all the nations that came up against Israel they didn't fear Israel, they feared the God of Israel because they all heard of what happened at that Red Sea. So right now, we still have Trump with the glory. I am waiting on the moment in time where things get really scary. It's going to get really scary. Something's going to come down, and then there's going to be no way out. At the Red Sea, there is no way out. And the only way out was a miracle. And that's what God brings. God brought the miracle. God got the glory. Israel went through the Red Sea, and every nation from that moment on feared the God of Israel. And that has not happened yet. And so, Noah, go ahead. What do you have here?
Well, it just lines up exactly with everything you're just saying. So I thought I'd put this on the screen. This is something I published just last night. Excuse me, saying that, and I don't try to do what you do or what anybody else does. I just kind of publish what I'm seeing. But I really feel like it's great. We had a great celebration, a great victory. But I think there's one more dark period to get through where they're going to throw everything they have against him to try and stop him. He won on election night, but there's a lot more they can do between now and Inauguration Day, or maybe even afterwards, to try and really stop him or slow him down or who knows what else. So it's just crazy how that lines up exactly with what you just said. So one more, and you know who else told me that was Joe von Pulitzer when he was on my show a couple weeks ago. He said the same thing. He said even if Trump wins, there's going to be a very ugly period of time that we have to go through still. And I like the way you put it, that is the final thing to make sure that the glory goes where it needs to go. And right now we're just not quite there yet.
Think about the Red Sea. On the other side of the Red Sea, when the sea was closed, there is no one, this is important, there was no one chasing Israel anymore. Where are your accusers? There weren't any. That is where we're not yet. Get what I'm saying? We're not, because the accusers, the ones that are attacking, they're all out there still. Okay. So on the other side of the Red Sea, where's Pharaoh? Where's his army? Where are all those coming up against Israel? They're gone.
Yep.
So until we get to that moment in time, we're not there. And that's what we all need to consider. Until we get to the moment in time where there are no people chasing Trump and us, humanity. Because remember, what did Trump say? He goes, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way.
Right.
It's no different. Pharaoh wanted to control all of Israel, and Moses was in the way. Same thing. That which has been will be again. Moses was in the way because what? He brought the power. He was anointed and appointed. Trump is anointed and appointed, and he's in the way. And so they're after us to enslave humanity, period. And until we get to a point in time where there's no one, where are your accusers? You know, Jesus said to the lady who was the Pharisees said, stone her. Right? Where are your accusers? And they all fled. Mm-hmm. And Jesus, because Jesus says, he who hasn't sinned, throw the first stone. You see, the point is the attackers are all there. And you're right, Noah. This is a moment in time where these people are alpha predators. They haven't stopped in decades. And since he came down the elevator, they haven't stopped. Okay?
Right.
They will not stop. And as much as, we, by the blood of Jesus, can pray things away, we cannot. This is a global syndicate, and this is God's battle, just like it was God's battle at the Red Sea. Very simple. Moses said, because God told him, stand still and watch the salvation of the Lord, for he will work for you today. The Egyptians who you see before you, in this case, the present day Egyptians who we see before us, soon we shall never see again. And here it is. The Lord will fight for you. And so that is what we're waiting for, because when the Lord fights for us, it's over in 24 hours. We're going to wake up one morning. Celebrating like we can't even comprehend. So it's going to go down in a single night. God only needs one day. So again, God hasn't revealed the day he's going to strike. But I wanted to show some calculations. Furthermore, one more calculation, and then we're going to talk about early next week, Monday, Tuesday of next week. So let's talk, but I want to go one calculation here for us. So if you can start on page 8. Let's start at page 8. I want to show the calculations. And so, you and I have talked about the 1,000-year millennial reign. Mm-hmm. A day is but 1,000 years. Okay, so there's your one. We've talked about from birth of Jesus to his return, 2,000. So you go to the next slide. And then you go to the next slide, from creation to Jesus' birth, that's 4,000. So 124. If you multiply it by 2, you got 248. If you add 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. I'm showing you that because if you understand that the 248 represents numbers, this is divine math, which God showed me. It's that simple. But until God reveals it, no one knew it. No one knew this until 2 weeks ago. God revealed this to me 2 weeks ago, and it blew my mind, because I want to show you this, and then we'll talk about next week. But this is incredible. If you go to the next slide here, go to page 12, and you'll see that if you, from the Declaration of Independence, you add 248 years, you get the year 2024. Well, that's interesting, but understand you can actually take this back another 1700 plus years. I want to show you this. Go to page 13. So we talked about the Star of Bethlehem, right? So we reference the Star of Bethlehem, and a kingdom was birthed, the kingdom of Jesus. And that steps us into the blood of Jesus. That steps us into the New Testament. Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay. So now we talked about 248. So if we had 248 years multiplied by 7, you get to the year 1736.
Okay.
That's in red right there. Okay.
Yep.
1736. So that's 7 cycles of 248 years from the Star of Bethlehem. This is incredible math. This is mind-blowing math that the perfection is just to the year perfect. Israel walked through the wilderness for 40 years, and then they walked into the promised land. If you add 40 years to 1736, you get what? 1776.
Mm-hmm.
The land of milk and honey, the Declaration of Independence, and this is critical, the covenant with God. And repeat that. 1776 was the Declaration of Independence, but the critical aspect was the covenant with God. And the math from Jesus is 7 times, biblical 7, number 7, 7 times 248 plus 40 to the exact year was the birth of the United States, the land of milk and honey. What? How does this happen? Now, if you add another 248 years, one final cycle, guess what you get to? 2024.
Right now.
And what was birthed? What was birthed? The Star of Jacob on the 8th cycle. Come on. This is wild.
Yep, that's awesome, Bo.
And now if you go to the next page here on 14, if we go back to 1736, remember, we talked about 12. We saw show the slide earlier, Daniel 12:7, 1260. If we go 1260 years backwards from 1736, you get to 476. Noah, the fall of Rome to the exact year. You understand the fall of Rome was divine math? It fell precisely when the math said it was supposed to fall. Then we went to the Dark Ages, the medieval times, for 1260 years. We went into the medieval times for 1260 years. Perfect math. 40 years, we wandered in the wilderness, and then the land of milk and honey, Declaration of Independence. What I'm trying to say is none of this is random. None of this is random. And have you ever heard about the thing called the book or the thing called the fourth turning? Have you heard of that?
No, I don't think so.
So God revealed this to me just when I was on the plane the other day. And so from the fourth turning, here's how you calculate it. It's their 80-year cycles. So rather than 7, they're 80 years, 80-year cycles. So the 1776, you add 80 years, you get to 1856. The triggering events that led to the 1860 Civil War. You add another 80 years, you get to 1936. And then Hitler goes against the Treaty of Versailles, and that triggers World War II in 1939. You add another 80 years, and you get to 2016. And that in the Torah codes, if you watched, we've done, I think, a video on that, that's called the time of trouble when Obama's in office. And then the year after that, that's when Trump wins in December. And then the year after that starts 2017, which is the Revelation 12 sign. So 3 cycles of 80. Revelation 12 sign is 2017, the year after. And specifically, when then we do the 7 years forward, takes us to go back to the calculation we did earlier. But what I'm trying to show, when that ended on the Halloween, and then 6 more days. But the Torah codes, and then on 2017, Trump steps into office when he's 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days old.
Mm-hmm.
The math is staggering how perfect all of this is. And then you add 8 years, so it's 8, 80, 80, 80 plus 8, which equals 248 years. If you add 8 years, you get to the fourth turning, which is basically called the Great Awakening, and that's now. So all of that said, I want people to understand from the birth of Jesus, using the 248-year cycle, throwing in even the Great Awakening calculations and with the fourth turning calculations, everything is indicating, and then the Star of Jacob manifesting, everything is screaming that the year 2024 ends the world as we know it. That's what's about to happen.
Well, that's
everything
good. That's
we know
good
is
with
about
me.
to shift and change. And it all started on and the calculations for the Star of Jacob. That is awesome. From September 27th, 40 days, and on the exact day, Trump is declared winner on November 6th, 2024, 11/6, the 6th day. And on the 7th day, they rested. And now that we've rested, it's about to get chaotic. And that steps us into what's about to, I think, maybe happen maybe this weekend, if not early next week. So now let's talk about next week. So let's talk about the financial system. They built the control system of Babylon with the money. And we've talked about that as well, too. That's Babylon was built with a not federal reserve, no reserves, no. I think you saw this, but Jerome, was it Powell?
Yeah, Jerome Powell.
Was actually yesterday by a reporter if Trump asked him to step down, would he? What was his answer?
Yeah, he said no.
Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not what?
Not permitted under the law.
He said no. It was a hilarious clip.
Why? Because the Federal Reserve is outside the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to answer. So the only solution is a workaround. What's the workaround? A new financial system. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to back down because their agenda is controlling humanity. And they do it with the Federal Reserve now. They just told you they're not backing down. So what's the solution? It's not even end the Fed. It's someone's writing end the Fed. Who cares about the Fed? You just do a workaround. And the Fed becomes unimportant. That's what's coming. It's a workaround, so the Fed becomes unimportant. And that's the point of all this. So how do you make the Fed unimportant? You undo what happened 50 years ago with Nixon and the petrodollar. In other words, you reinstate gold as money. So in this new kingdom age, okay, so this fourth turning steps us into December and then specifically January 2025. What's coming is a new financial system. The way we transact is about to change forever. Everything is about to change, and it all changes directly related specifically with the money system, because that's how they built it all. And so saying all that, I want to touch base here on cryptocurrencies because
all right, here's the big everybody. I told you there's a Bo told me.
So
he said
he wants to go full screen here. Let's do this full screen. But what I wanted to come on,
make a big announcement. So here we go, everybody.
So pay attention, everybody, because this is important to understand. The money system, until something biblical changes with the money, these people are in control. It's the money system that has to change for the world to change. The money system has to change for the world to change. So, in other words, if the world's going to change, we need something to shift. And you've read my reports. Noah and I, we did a podcast together. We've been doing podcasts probably 3-4 years already. We've been going back and forth for quite a long time. But remember the one that we did when I was in Switzerland, and we did a podcast in November. Remember that one, November of 2022.
Oh, yeah.
And, we had the cycle that said Bitcoin is going to crash on November 8th. And we said that in October.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know what it was. And then we found out it was FTX, but it crashed exactly on November 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said about the 15th, it's going to bottom. And that'll be the bottom for years to come. It bottomed on November 15th or 20th, whatever it was. And it turned up, and it's never, and that was at 14 or 15,000, and it never looked back. Correct, Noah?
Mm-hmm. I absolutely remember that.
So the cycle predicted the exact bottom, and that was the exact bottom for Bitcoin. The cycle's been up ever since, and you've been getting my reports on cryptocurrencies. And like I've said, Bitcoin, if this were a racetrack of horses, you've got 3 horses. You've got Bitcoin, gold, and silver. The first horse out of the gates is Bitcoin because they have the most difficult time to control it because they can't make Bitcoin. They can make paper derivative contracts, but they really can't control Bitcoin. That's why it's at 75,000, 76,000 right now. But it still has cycle patterns within it, which are predictable. That's why we were able to predict November of 2022 for the bottom. So Bitcoin's the first horse running. And what happened, Noah? What happened on election night into the morning of the 6th? Bitcoin did what?
Yeah, I mean, it shot up. In fact, I was watching it all day. That was one of the first indicators that I was watching, even very early in the night when just the first results were coming out. It just slowly started going, and as that started to go, I said, "Watch out! This is the indicator that he's going to win."
So Bitcoin jumped. I think it was 6,000 in a single night. We woke up to the markets up $5,000 in the morning. Well, no one slept much that night, because I was watching the Trump speech and everything. But the point was, it was on the 6th, and it moved. And it aggressively, and remember our last podcast, it's going to go through 70,000 like, what was the word? Hot knife through.
Yep, through butter. We had you on right before the election, Bo, and Bitcoin, I think the week before the election, it got as low 60,000s. And then, like you're saying, right after the win, it shoots up over 70. And as we sit right now, even since we've gone live, it's at 77,100 right now. Ethereum is just a couple dollars below 3,000, and everything. Oh, and of course, what am I thinking? XRP is at 55 cents. I got to put that in there for you, Bo. But that's the prices as we sit here today, and they look like they are just absolutely on a launching pad for a rocket ship, if you ask me.
That's right. And so what do we say? Go back to our podcast. When it takes out 70,000, it's going to go through 70,000 like a hot knife through butter. Mm-hmm. It went through it. It bounced off of it. And this was all in our reports. We've been watching Bitcoin for months now, literally play by play. We write reports. They're fun to read because we've been writing the reports, especially for the past couple of weeks now, or months already, but past couple of weeks have been like play by play. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Every piece of the puzzle's played out perfectly. Right down to breaking through 70,000, coming on the 28th of October, coming back on the 4th, touching 70,000, and then reversing right off of that to the exact day like we said it would. And then it was going to shoot vertical, and it went straight vertical on the exact day it was supposed to. And now is the next part. This is the part that I wanted to talk about. Because
what's next?
So as exciting as it was to witness the $5,000 move, all that $5,000 move into 75 to 77,000 where it is right now, this is called a confirmed breakout, but we haven't had the event. Cycle indicates, I'm going to give it, this is a freebie because I want the world to know. I'm going to say early next week. We could even throw the date 1/1/11 on it. So Monday, the 11th. Does it happen the 12th? That's great too. But next week, most likely the date would be the 11th, Monday, but whatever. Could be Tuesday, Wednesday. Doesn't matter. But next week, with a high probability of Monday, the 11th, we are expected to see a God spike on Bitcoin, which means that it will probably, my best guess is 20,000 single day.
Whoa.
So 15,000, but we're going to see a move like we've never seen before. That's what's happening. The number I threw out is a guess on my part, but if we just saw 6,000 on the 6th, the candle that's coming is going to be magnitudes bigger. So it will not be 6,000. It'll be 10, 15, $20,000 candle stick, meaning price move in a single day. And then this starts the Bitcoin move that we've been waiting for. But on top of that, I want to set the alternate coins are going to move. All of this, remember, Bitcoin's godfather. In other words, if Bitcoin's not going up, nothing else is, you know, and if Bitcoin's going down, everything else is. Okay. So Bitcoin, like I've always said, determines direction. That's why when you get my reports, I'm always focusing on Bitcoin because it's grandpa and it says the direction everything follows. And because this event's coming next week, expect the alternate coins to catch fire to the upside. Okay.
Okay. I like that.
Everything we've been waiting for is about to go. Now, like we've said, this event's coming. You can't stop what's coming. You can only be in the correct side of the trade or on the wrong side of the trade. You know, so you can either know it's coming and do something about it, know it's coming and do nothing about it, or not know it's coming and just be in the blind. Well, at least I want people to know what's about to happen. If it plays out exactly like this, that's awesome. But all we can do is just wait and watch together. But the cycle remains up. And then when it's going to go vertical like you've never imagined before. It's going to go crazy. And then the global elite are going to throw everything in the kitchen sink to take it back down again because they're going to freak out.
Yep.
Okay. So this is where it's going to be huge up, huge down. It's going to be wild what's about to happen. So again, what's going to cause all this? That's the question. So my question to you, Noah, would be, if we did see a God spike on Bitcoin early next week, I guess my question is, what's going on in the world? Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's going on in the world to have that event? What just happened? It's like when Trump won, it went 6,000. So what's going to cause it to do 15 or 20,000 if it does that, right? What's going to cause that spike is the big question. And then coupled with that, I've already referenced, shortly thereafter, we're going to see silver and gold do the same. But remember, Bitcoin's the first horse out of the races, gold and silver out of the gates. Gold's next, and then silver's last. But then silver is going to go like a wild beast when this thing's let go. So that's why, you know, to me, I prefer silver over any of the precious metals. Well, I mean, over gold specifically. But cryptocurrencies, they're all three of them. Cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and the good alternate coins, gold and silver are all opposite the Federal Reserve note. And regardless of what Powell says he's going to do, step down or not going to step down, it becomes irrelevant when the world figures out another way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And yep, gold, silver, and crypto that's what I've been doing. I always say, and I think we should reiterate that, you know, we just talk about what we're seeing. Bo runs his time cycles, and neither one of us can give anybody personalized financial advice because everybody's different. Your situation's different, all that type of stuff. But man, for me, all three of those is what helps me sleep better at night. And you know, Bo, I think it's so funny. You know, you've been coming on my show telling people gold, silver, and cryptos for, like you said, 3 or 4 years now. And for most of those 3 or 4 years, silver was probably around 25, maybe 27. And everyone said it'll never get over 32. And then last week it went over 32 and it went up to like 35. And then now it's come back and it's retesting 32. But for anyone to look at that and say, well, you know, it hasn't done anything, it's down. I mean, it's not. It's up from where you've been talking the last 4 years, and I'm holding it. That's all I can say. I'm holding mine. I'm not letting my silver out of my hands. That's all I can say right now.
Right. It's not for us to tell anybody what to do, but I'm basically speaking, you and I speak about what we personally do. And we personally believe the financial system's a fraud. So personally, we believe that we should own precious metals and cryptocurrencies. Our personal choice. That's the take on it. Now, interesting, Bitcoin, silver's never broken through $50. I find it interesting when you use the number 50, we're talking Jubilee. I believe silver is going to blow through $50. It could be next week in a single day.
Yeah, you told us that.
Or if it's not next week, let's just, because again, silver is more controlled. But if it's not next week, I still believe we're not going to get, I will say this, I don't think we're going to get out of November without silver blowing through $50 and going to my first target is $68.
Yeah.
Like you referenced, 32, 35 were roofs. The next roof is $68. So when it takes out 50, it's going to go straight to $68 to $70 in a single day. And I believe that's going to happen here in November, because if we see this stuff going off with Bitcoin, at some point, silver is going to just break free and rip and just go like a wild horse. So it's coming. We're here, and this takes me into kind of where we can wrap things up. But we talked earlier about what a coincidence that David, who got appointed and elected on the sixth day, just happens to speak and do an article, or he basically goes and speaks about the Kingdom Age. If you want to pull that up.
Yep. Let's see here.
Like, what a coincidence.
Golden Age. Mr. The man who's known for being associated with gold is going to bring in a golden age to America. I love it.
I'm just asking, people, just ask yourself, how is all of this happening? The golden age for America.
And I think
the golden
age here, Bo.
Yeah, the golden age is an age of abundance, of plenty, an age. We've talked about it. The Kingdom Age is an age of more than enough, not an age of lack. And so, in other words, he's basically saying that this would be undoing what Nixon did. He took us off the gold standard. And remember Kim Clement prophecy about David? He will raise a simple stone. He will raise a simple stone. Remember the word gold.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did say that. Wait, let me play this real quick. I think this is the right clip. Let's see.
So I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
All right, there it is. That's fantastic. Yes, it is. I love it.
It's fun to watch all these pieces come together. You know what I'm saying, Noah? It's like, it's the moment he's elected, he talks about the golden age on November 6th, which is exactly 40 days from the Star of Jacob, which is exactly 6 days after the calculation of Daniel 12, which was Halloween. So November 1, 6 days, November 6th. The math is so perfect that it can only be by the hand of God.
Well, Bo, you talked about Monday or the early part of next week, but eyes on Monday maybe. And then you said, I don't know for sure, but maybe it could do as much as 20,000 Bitcoin in one day. That's crazy. And just looking at it, that takes us right up to 100,000 then. I mean, that would be just perfect, wouldn't it? Yes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that too, because if we had a move like that, that would actually take it to the just $95,000 to $100,000. Well, there's your $100,000 Bitcoin. You see what I'm saying? So we could actually see
if we get a spike of that magnitude, see, I've got dates, my reports, like the Bitcoin index. In that report, I have a date in this month where a top comes in. Then it gets a sharp slam like you can't imagine to the downside. So I have a date, and to me, the date is more important than the price, if that makes sense. So like we have the date of November 8th, that Bitcoin was going to crash in the year 2022. And on that date of November 8th, Bitcoin collapsed through 19,000 and went straight down to 15,000 or 14,000 in a single day because it fulfilled the cycle. So I have a date that indicates early next week. And then it's going to continue. Early next week, meaning the jump's coming early next week. The God spike should happen early next week. And then there's a date later in November, which is going to be a top. Not the top, but an important top. And then they're going to go in with guns a-blazing to bring the price back down because this is something's going on. There's something going on in the world. Is God intervening or what's all happening? We're going to all find out together. But then there's a massive down cycle, and then it's going to go back up again. So if people want the cycle work, the patterns, the date in November, and then the date for the bottom, and then the reversal, all of these again are not random dates. You've had our reports, Noah. We've had this date for 2 months already. So all of this has been my report for months already because God revealed the patterns to me. So I can't give everything away, but I wanted to come on here to tell your viewers that extreme excitement's coming. But again, it's on, what side of the fence? Like 1929 was a great day. And when the crash of 1929 was a horrible day, right? But for those who saw it was coming, it was the greatest day because that gave them the ability to, buy the markets up at pennies on the dollar. So what I'm trying to say is, if you know something's coming, then you can prepare for it. If you don't know what's coming, then you got to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. Well, Bo, this is great. I'm so excited to have you on today because you said you wanted to make a big announcement, and you definitely delivered. So we're going to be watching. You're on record. We're going to be watching next week. Maybe especially Monday, but we're going to be watching early next week. We're going to all eyes on Bitcoin. I saw one comment too. I just mentioned this real quick. I don't know if I can find it to put it up on the screen. Someone said, oh, here you go. Bitcoin is for rich people, not the average American. Well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is just like stocks, you can buy fractional amounts of Bitcoin. And Bo's been talking about this for the last 4 years. He said, just buy a little bit every day or every week or every month or a little bit with every paycheck. And the people that have listened to that for the last 4 years they're doing pretty good. But, when we say Bitcoin's at $77,000, number one, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. A lot of people can't, of course.
Let me just, if I can pause, remember, Bitcoin's grandpa, so it determines direction for all the other coins as well. So expand upon that, Noel, because if Bitcoin's going down, so are all the other coins. But if Bitcoin's going vertical or going crazy to the upside, all the other, it's like buying a house. At some point, the houses get too expensive, right? So Bitcoin's at 77,000. The Bitcoin's getting a little too expensive. So everybody starts buying condos. And the condos are the alternate coins. Expand upon that, Noah.
Well, yeah, and you see it on the screen here. So, if you Bo came on today, he said, "Look, I just want to come on your show. I want to make a big announcement. I want to throw it out there for free." He's done that about next week. But if you want more information, Bo does have the one thing that he does is this newsletter. He's always published this paid newsletter. If you want the exact detail of when Bo says, "I see a future turning date here and back up here and down here." That's in his Gold 2020 Forecast newsletter. You just go to gold2020forecast.com. And anybody watching this, the code will expire. But if you're watching this, you type in code WLT49 and Bo will give you a 50% off getting in there. When you get in, you can see all the past reports. Like Bo says, it's been in there for the last 2 months. You can see what he's been talking about week after week. But what I wanted to say was on the screen here, Bo has a lot of other coins listed. You've got Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is not the only one. You've probably heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like I just said, Ethereum is about $3,000 right now. Then you look at other ones. I mean, I love how Bo, I just love this image, Bo. You put XRP right in the center. XRP and XLM right in the center of your image. That's beautiful.
Just for you, Noah.
Just for me. I love that. XRP is 55 cents right now. XLM is 10 cents.
Let me say something. XRP's never going to blow sky high ever unless Bitcoin goes first.
Right.
Look back at history. You can go back 10 years as far as you find on XRP. XRP, unless Bitcoin's in a bull market, XRP is not in a bull market. Okay, period. And so, for all the XRP people that are, that's all they want to talk about is XRP. Understand, if the God spike doesn't happen on Bitcoin, XRP is not going to have one either. Okay, so Bitcoin, it determines direction for everything else, at least a good coin specifically. Because when all the stuff goes down, most of these bad coins are going to go to zero and stay there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so Bo covers, I don't know, Bo, what would you say in your report? Maybe between 10 and 15 coins he'll talk about from time to time. And, of course, he's looking at the direction of Bitcoin, but then he's covering the other ones as well. And again, I can't give anyone personalized advice, but I love XRP. Bo and I love to joke about that back and forth. But if you're looking at Bitcoin saying it's too expensive at 77,000, number one, you can buy fractional parts. But you're right. At 77,000, even if it goes to 100,000 or 200,000, that's not as big of a percent return. But you do have some that are featured on this screen and some other ones in Bo's report that are 55 cents or 10 cents, or some are even like 3 cents. A lot of really exciting ones. And, I'm not giving anything away because Bo's got all the logos and the symbols on the screen, but he covers a lot of really exciting ones that when Bitcoin goes, if it goes like he thinks it's going to, like the cycles show that it's supposed to, when it does that, it's going to drag, what do they call it? A rising tide lifts all boats, right? So when it goes, it brings all the other boats with it, but the percent returns on those could be a lot higher. Could be, no guarantee. No one can give a guarantee on this stuff, but the historical cycles would suggest that when Bitcoin goes and does its thing, you're going to see some really big moves in these other ones. So that I like that. I get excited about that. I diversify into a lot of the ones that are on the screen there. And the fun thing is you can just buy a little bit here and there. So, I can't go out and buy a real estate apartment building, just on a whim, but I can go buy $100 of Bitcoin or $200 of XRP. And that makes it kind of fun. Bo, one more thing. I'll put this on the screen too. I saw a few comments. I won't be able to find them right now, but because the chat is going crazy. But had a couple people saying, I don't know. Oh, right here. Thank you, Patriot Girl. I know nothing about Bitcoin or XRP or crypto. So if that's you, if you are listening to us talk about this and you're like, okay, I don't know anything about this, but maybe I'd like to learn, you can go. Bo has his Easy Crypto School. You just go to easycryptoschool.com. The link is at the top of the screen here, easycryptoschool.com. If you don't know anything about how to do this stuff, there are pitfalls out there. You can make mistakes and your money can just get sent off into internet hyperspace and never to be seen again. Or there are scams out there. If you want to learn how to do it the right way and do it safely, Bo created this a couple years ago, and I get constant feedback from people saying it was so helpful. So you go to easycryptoschool.com and type in WLT49. You'll also get 50% off of that. Great stuff. And what I like talking about is stuff that's going to help people. And I think Bo's newsletters help people. And I think education and teaching them how to do this safely, because it's brand new. It can be complicated. It can be confusing. It can be intimidating. But Bo's made it very simple where you can just follow steps and he'll show you how to do it.
Absolutely. You can't stop what's coming. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, people say the love of money. Understand that the global elite love money. They've controlled it and enslaved everybody, because in a godly kingdom, we're always supposed to have more than enough. Go around the community, talk to people. Everyone's got barely enough, okay? And the way they're taking us right now is they want us to be broke, or that's why it's called a job, just over broke.
Right.
In a godly kingdom, You're supposed to have more than enough. When God intervened on the world, he fed the 5,000. There was so much food left over. You understand that, right? When God turned water to wine, there was so much wine left over. The point I'm trying to make is we're supposed to always have more than enough. And the finances that are coming are to be used to build God's church, to separate ourselves and to build God's church. That's what it's all about. So we can then take the time and worship, spend time with God. That's what life's all about. This is a battle for souls, but the finances will allow you, it'll give you freedom, because finances give you time to do whatever you want. And hopefully it's things for the kingdom.
Yeah, I love that. And for far too long, there's been this mentality that being poor somehow makes you more godly or spiritual or something.
That's a lie from the pits of hell, Noah. Yeah. Lie from the pits of hell.
And you know, the flip side isn't true either. I mean, it's not that, you know, if you're blessed and then that makes you somehow a better person, but there's no correlation there. And there's just about everybody in the Old Testament that was a big name that, you know, now we talk about in kind of the Bible Hall of Fame. They were blessed and they had a lot of resources. If you go back,
how did Noah build the ark unless he had insane amounts of money? Mm-hmm. Like every king that's, you know, that's ever been, you know, in the Old Testament, they were all loaded. Why? Because they needed the finances to build God's kingdom.
Yep. Bo, this is funny. I told you the chat is going crazy here. People are having a blast, and it's so fun to have everybody on. Looks like we're narrowing in on about 3,000 people watching this all over the place. But I love this one. I'm going to put this on the screen from XRP Chevy. He's paid to talk about Bitcoin. Bo, has the president of Bitcoin been paying you?
That's the thing. You know, there's so much. These are trolls that go on there, or there are people that have no clue, right?
Wait a minute.
No clue. It's just like a Bitcoin's used for child trafficking. Wait a second. So there was no child trafficking until Bitcoin came to existence? Like, are you kidding me? The number one currency ever used for child trafficking is the Federal Reserve note. That's what for generations they've used the Federal Reserve note for the trafficking stuff, you know. And so Bitcoin is, you know, so all I know is that I position myself, and God's, because he should reveal these cycles and patterns to me, it's put myself and my family in a really wonderful place. So I'm doing this for fun.
Bo, are you talking to the president of Bitcoin? Wait a minute. No, it's the president of gold. Is the president of gold been calling?
Yeah, you know, and I don't sell gold. I don't sell gold. But on my website, there's people you can buy gold from, but I don't sell gold. You see, because I buy gold, I especially buy precious metals and silver. So I don't care what people think, because I know what I speak is truth, and I know it's real. It's truth from the Father. I know what I've been shown, and I know what's coming. And if you go back and listen to our podcast, we've been on the mark for years now, Noah, for years. We have been on the mark for years.
Yeah, it's been
and we're just waiting for a moment in time where God truly intervenes. And because the calculation I've shown you, going back to the birth of Jesus, literally going back over 2,000 years, we're at a moment in time which is going to be beyond mind-blowing in terms of what's about to happen, because it states very, very clearly, the wealth of the sinner, these evil ones, is stored up for the righteous. God doesn't lie. In the scriptures, it says the wealth of the sinner is coming to the church. It says in scriptures that we are to be the head of finance, not the tail. Right now, the globalists are the head and we are the tail.
Yep.
But that's not what's in scripture. It's in Deuteronomy. We're to be the head, not the tail.
Yep.
Okay. So it's coming. Whether you like it or not, it's coming. You can either be prepared for it or not. But I want to finish with this one video, then you can ask your question. But listen to this video, Kim Clement. And why do I want to play this? Because everybody thought Kim missed it, got it wrong. He was the one that prophesied Trump would be president. Trump would be a trumpet. And then he said, furthermore, he's going to have 2 terms. And everybody thought Kim was speaking nonsense until November. And the Kim Clement prophecy was fulfilled because he was elected president again. So listen to this prophecy about what happens in fall, and specifically, not only that, what happens in fall, well, yeah, what happened, because this actually talks about the finances as well with regards to fall. So have a listen to this. Let me click the share button here.
The winds of change have come. Changing of the guard is apparent. An economic makeover. And hands who have dug into the coffers and into the treasure chests of deception, their hands taken out, so that my people who conduct their affairs with justice will be blessed, signifying the opening of a door that has been locked for such a time as this. Pandemonium in the White House, in the higher regions, and below the earth, in Italy and in Rome. All of this uncovered but unspoken of. Look to the fall.
Look to the fall.
Yep, and we're finally there.
Pandemonium in the White House. A changing of the guard is apparent. Their hands taken out of the financial coffers. Look to the fall.
Yep, that's good. Well, Bo, I can't even keep up with all the questions coming in, but if you have a question we didn't cover, we'll try and do it here at the end. But there's a couple good ones I wanted to put up on the screen before we wrap this up. One person said, what was the big announcement? What did I miss? Well, just go back and listen. It was probably about 10 or 20 minutes ago, but Bo's saying watch out for a big day for Bitcoin, likely early next week, likely possibly Monday, but early next week, possibly 15,000, 20,000 move in a day. So Bo's going on record. He's putting it out there. We are going to watch it. You know, if Bitcoin floats up to around 80,000 over the weekend and then goes 20 on Monday, there's your 100,000 right there. So that would really be something.
Remember, because specifically the financial event for Bitcoin, when it takes out 70,000, it'll be like a hot knife going through butter. Okay, that we said that last time. We saw it go 5,000 just on the election, and we haven't really seen the move yet. We're still expecting. So it's going to be an awesome week ahead for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. We're just going to have to watch and see how it all plays out together. But I just want to, want the viewers to be sitting on the correct side if they're holding positions, and more so just to have people know that, we're seeing a change. This the prophecy was, an economic makeover, a changing of the guard. Right? A changing of the financial system, their hands being ripped out of the coffers where they control humanity. All of this is here. I've shown the calculations going back to the birth of Jesus using the 248-year cycle. It's crazy mathematics that are perfect. It shows the fall of Rome to the exact year. It calculates the Declaration of Independence and the covenant made by the founding fathers with God. The math is wild, and all of it is supposed to transpire in the year 2024.
Yep, and there's still 2 months left in 2024. I think it's going to be a wild and beautiful 2 months, but we'll see. Here it is, Bo. A couple comments here. One person asking about saying research theta. One person saying, what do you see about SHIB, S-H-I-B? Bo, I will say, and Bo, maybe you want to comment on either one of those, but those are both in Bo's report. He does cover those. He does have those in his report. Probably some good things to say about those, but we do have to be respectful to the people that pay for his report because they are paying for all that detailed info. So I don't know how much you can say out here, Bo, but those are definitely two that you're watching.
Yeah, I think they're as much as Shiba's a meme coin, at the same time too. So was Doge, and you saw what Doge did. When it went vertical. So whatever reason, there's some prophecies about Shiba, and and there are very, very encouraging prophecies. So all I know is that I look at the patterns and the cycles on them, and when the patterns are good, and then you have prophecies that overlay on the patterns. I think both of those coins have a very promising future, and you got to be careful about some of these alternate coins, because some of the coins, most of them probably, you don't need, I think it's 10,000 or something of them. I would say over 9,000 are going to go to zero, when this event goes down. So you want to make sure you hold good coins. And so, and of all my research, I think we've got some really good coins in our report. And yeah, those two are in there. And I think, just down the road, as long as you're sitting with good coins, you'll be very, very blessed. God wants to bless humanity, and he uses all things. People say, oh, God, gold and silver are God's money, Haggai 2:8. That's correct. And cryptocurrencies are not. Well, it's correct. But when you read scripture, God uses all things. He uses all things for his glory. And so what they meant for evil, so they want to use cryptocurrencies. Crypto means death, right? So they want to use crypto against humanity. So they don't want us to know about it. They just want to use it for themselves. But God's going to take crypto, which means death, that they want to bring death to us. He's going to flip the tables on them. And so for a season, I'm going to say for a season, cryptocurrencies are going to be exceptionally awesome, because God's going to use what they wanted to use against us, against them. So again, God uses all things for his glory, and cryptocurrencies are going to be the way we transact. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, at distance, because it doesn't make any sense for me to mail Noah a silver coin when I could click a button in a fraction of a second, he will receive that numeric or that financial instrument. So that's why cryptocurrencies are going to be the workaround the Fed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's perfect. Well, we've had a blast here. This has been a lot of fun. I know everyone's having a lot of fun in the chat here. I love this one I just put up on the screen. I was joking with Bo a few minutes ago about whether he's been working with the president of gold, and this guy writes, the president of gold is God. That's a good one.
Well, what do we say? Golden age, right?
Yep.
God, add an L, there's your gold. And we're stepping into the golden age, the fourth turning, and specifically the Star of Jacob calculations and the birth of God's kingdom here on earth. We're here. It's going to go down. No one's stopping what's coming. The math is screaming, we're here. And anybody who wants to go and break down the math of the 248-year cycle from zero from the Star of Bethlehem, good luck on trying to discredit that, because that is so mathematically perfect. It could only been done by God. Yeah.
Well, that is great. We've had a lot of fun here today. Bo is on the record, everybody. I told you it was going to be a big announcement, and he sure delivered. So we're going to have a fun weekend. We're going to have fun early next week, Monday and Tuesday, watching what happens. But Bitcoin has already broken out. We haven't mentioned this yet, Bo, but the previous all-time high, I think earlier this year, February, March, was about 73,800 for Bitcoin. It's at 77 right now. So it's already gone over that. And that's called a breakout or blue sky. When it does that, usually it starts to get really fun. So that's where we sit. We don't. We'll see what's going to happen.
I find it interesting. It's at 77.
2 sevens, just sitting right there, just sitting at the sevens.
If it's sat at 77,700, that's also interesting.
That would be pretty fun.
It's just interesting where it's sitting right now before it goes parabolic.
Yep. So, well, here you go. Bo is on record. He threw this out for free to everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you for joining us. We've had almost 4,000 people joining us, and it's been a lot of fun. We'll do another.
We're ending this at 1 minute and 1 hour and 24 minutes.
1, 2, 4. Look at that.
4.
All right. Well, we got it. We got to go. We got to go on the 1, 2, 4. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.